Published, 15:29 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 28th of March 2019. Updated, 15:39 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 28th of March 2019. The Major League Baseball season officially began in Japan last week with a two-game set between the Seattle Mariners and Oakland Athletics, but the 2019 campaign really began in North America on Thursday as scores of fans packed stadiums to celebrate opening day. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred was on hand with Hall of Fame catcher Johnny Bench as the game's first professional team, the Cincinnati Reds, opened their 150th season with the 100th Findlay Market opening day parade through the Queen City streets in the Bronx, where the New York Yankees were hosting the Baltimore Orioles. Mariano Rivera tossed out the ceremonial first pitch after becoming the game's first unanimous selection to the Baseball Hall of Fame back in January. Philadelphia Phillies fans packed the city's south side to get a glimpse of the team's new $330 million player, Bryce Harper, who was making his debut against the visiting Atlanta Braves, and former All-Star second baseman Robinson Cano endeared himself to New York Mets fans by homering in his first at-bat with the team against three-time Cy Young winner Max Scherzer of the Washington Nationals. In the Bronx, where the New York Yankees were hosting the Baltimore Orioles, Mariano Rivera tossed out the ceremonial first pitch after becoming the game's first unanimous selection to the Baseball Hall of Fame back in January. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred, right, was on hand with Hall of Famer Johnny Bench, left, as the game's first professional team, the Cincinnati Reds, opened their 150th season with the 100th Findlay Market parade through the Queen City streets. Philadelphia Phillies fans packed the city's south side to get a glimpse of the team's new $330 million player, Bryce Harper, who was making his debut against the visiting Atlanta Braves. Former All-Star second baseman Robinson Cano endeared himself to New York Mets fans by homering in his first at-bat with the team against three-time Cy Young winner Max Scherzer of the Washington Nationals. Sisters Brett Phillips, left, and Dana Fontana's stand outside Yankee Stadium before the start of an opening day baseball game between the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles at Yankee Stadium. But even on such a traditional occasion as opening day, the rapid changes within the game were also apparent. Whether it's because of new technology, new strategies, or new rules, the game could look a lot different over the next decade or so. There's not a single active player left from the 20th century. Not one. Adrian Beltre and Bartolo Colon were the last, the Elias Sports Bureau said. And with all 30 teams set to play Thursday, from Bryce Harper's home debut at Citizens Bank Park to Mookie Betts and the champion Boston Red Sox visiting Seattle, this year MLB becomes the first of the four major sports without someone still around who played in the 1900s. The last time that was true in the big leagues, back before even the World Series existed. Already this season, the great Ichiro Suzuki has retired, done at 45 after two hitless games last week as the Seattle Mariners swept Oakland at the Toyota Dome. I think the commissioner's just trying to stay ahead of the curve, do what's best for the game. There's a lot of intelligent people thought this stuff over and there's a lot of people involved, said Jim Leyland, the longtime manager who is now a special assistant for the Detroit Tigers. I'm a big believer that when you've had something in place for so long, anytime there's a change, there's going to be a reaction. Some of it's going to be pro, some of it's going to be con. Changes in baseball tend to happen at the margins. Basketball added a three-point line and a shot clock, so NCAA tournament games on YouTube from 35 years ago can look noticeably different from the current product. As for baseball, go back through the decades, and you'll see the same basic battle between pitcher and hitter, with fielders positioned mostly the same way. Now, under Commissioner Rob Manfred, it seems almost anything can be altered. Major League Baseball and its players' union agreed recently to a deal that included rule changes for 2020. When a pitcher enters the game, he'll need to face at least 3 batters or stay in until the end of the half inning. The Commissioner's office agreed not to implement pitch clocks before the 2022 season, but a joint management union committee will study effects of possible changes to the strike zone, the height of the mound, and even the distance from the mound to the plate. Then there's the DH, used in the AL since 1973 but not the NL. We think the changes in the game, how the game is being played, some of the concerns that the Other side continues to voice in relation to pace and activity during the course of the game warrants a discussion about a DH in both leagues, Union head Tony Clark said. In the Independent Atlantic League, computers will be used for ball strike calls starting in late April, and the distance from the mound to home plate will be extended by 2 feet for the second half of the season. Infield shifts will also be limited in that league. Cincinnati Reds mascot Mr. Redlegs reacts during the 100th Findlay Market opening day parade. Fans gather outside Great American Ballpark before Thursday's game between the Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Phillies Bryce Harper fans watch batting practice ahead of first inning of Thursday's opener in South Philadelphia. Chris Cook of Arlington tailgates outside Globe Life Park in Arlington prior to Thursday's Texas Rangers-Chicago Cubs game. Jose Ortiz walks his bicycle past Yankee Stadium before the start of Thursday's opening day baseball game. The 1990s were also a period of change in baseball. Within a few years the sport realigned its divisions, added the wild card and began playing interleague games during the regular season. I think that was a little bit of a shock to everybody's system, but I think obviously it showed it worked out pretty good, Leyland said. Those type of changes are a little bit different than actual rule changes. Indeed, the wild card didn't really affect the way the game looked on the field. More recent changes have altered the way the sport is actually played. New rules have been added over the past few years to address collisions with catchers, and with infielders turning double plays. Baseball has allowed instant replay to review calls and limited the number of visits to the mound. That last crackdown turned out to be of little consequence. Future changes may be more contentious. The Union wasn't a big fan of the 3-batter requirement for pitchers, and the idea of pitch clocks has met resistance as well. Pitch clocks have been used in the minor leagues. Toronto right-hander Clay Buchholz, who spent some time in the minors last year, said he actually benefited. Former Milwaukee Brewers players Robin Yount, left, and Rollie Fingers, right, chat before throwing the ceremonial first pitch. Fans tailgate before the game between the St. Louis Cardinals and Milwaukee Brewers during opening day at Miller Park. Maggie Garrett tailgates before an opening day baseball game between the Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals historically have been, when the game starts speeding up, I'll slow down, and you're not allowed to do that in the minor leagues or it's a ball, he said. I sort of brought that into the big league repertoire when I got called back up, and it really did help me. Thought less about different things within the game. So does that mean Buchholz would like to see the pitch clock brought to the majors? No, he said. The game's new look goes beyond rule changes, of course. Baseball's statistical revolution has transformed strategy, and technology offers more ways to measure performance. I look at it more like, instead of changing, it's evolving, said Miami Marlins manager Don Mattingly, the 1985 AL MVP with the New York Yankees. I think when you see the shifts, they were just part of the information age of being able to really be pretty specific with models. You get 10,000 ball models of what it projects out to be, where they're going to hit it. So yeah, I think they're getting more precise with all the information that we get on how to play guys. Fans purchase programs from a vendor on opening day prior to the start of a Major League Baseball game between the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim and the Oakland Athletics at Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. Fans play catch outside the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati prior to the start of the Reds-Pirates opener. Defensive alignments are certainly different, and the pitcher-batter pendulum has swung in the direction of high strikeout totals. More guys throw harder, Mattingly said. It seems like every day, everybody out of those pens that come into these games, I don't care if they're coming out of a ball or wherever they're coming, could get mid to upper 90s. Teams are increasingly cognizant of the idea that pitchers are less effective when facing the batting order for a third time in a game. Last year, Tampa Bay sometimes used an opener, a reliever who would start the game and perhaps pitch an inning or two, facing tough spots in the order. Then another pitcher, maybe a more traditional starter, could come in and take over. While teams strive for an edge and push the limits of innovation, baseball's decision-makers will continue evaluating how to keep the game entertaining and relevant. The result is a changing sport. Where this all leads is anyone's guess, but Leyland, who at times in his career seemed to represent the sport's old guard, is hopeful. "Personally, I think change is good," he said. "Young people, today's world, they want action. So you have to make those adjustments, because you need to get those generational fans. You need to keep that coming." Fans enter the stadium before the game between the Washington Nationals and the New York Mets at Nationals Park.